Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Joey, and if you enjoy MMA content, prediction videos, post-fight analysis, breaking news coverage, fight announcements, subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be covering all that type of stuff. Anybody who joined me on my Vegas 24 live stream, it was for Whittaker versus Gastelum. I appreciate you guys, and everyone who's already subscribed, I appreciate you guys. I wanted to make a quick video because there seems to be discussion about what should be going on in the UFC middleweight division right now. And if you watch my post-fight show for Whittaker versus Gastelum, you kind of already have an idea of what I'm thinking. But Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker 2 is the only fight to make, and it's the fight that has to be next. Whittaker put on an absolute masterful performance against Gastelum last night. Just outclassed him in every aspect. I went over that. You guys can check that out in the post-fight video I made. I'll put the link in the description for that. But Whittaker just looks super impressive. And Whittaker, since losing his belt against Adesanya at UFC, I think it was 243, he has been on an absolute tear. He outclassed Darren Till. Then he went on to outclass Jared Cannonier, who Jared Cannonier at the time was, he looking super impressive. A lot of people thought he was going to be the next guy to fight Israel Adesanya. Obviously, Whittaker took him out of the picture. And then he goes on to beat Kelvin Gastelum in last night's amazing performance as well. So he's looked great in all three of his fights. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. His only loss in the last, 4 or 5 years has been to Israel Adesanya in that title fight. So I just think it's the fight to make. But quickly, I'm going to go through the middleweight rankings and kind of just briefly discuss, what's going on at middleweight. So at number 1, you have Robert Whittaker. Obviously, he deserves the title shot. I've already said that. Number 2, you have Paulo Costa, coming off a loss to Israel Adesanya, where he was absolutely outclassed and dominated. Adesanya, I believe, finished him in the second round. Then you have Marvin Vettori. So Marvin Vettori is the only other guy that belongs in the discussion for a potential middleweight title shot, but it's just not close to Robert Whittaker. I mean, I think Marvin Vettori's on a 5-fight winning streak. But his last win, and this isn't his fault, is just over Kevin Holland, and it wasn't super impressive at all. So I think he's one fight away from potentially challenging for the middleweight title. But right now, I don't think Marvin Vettori deserves it at all. I think Marvin Vettori should go fight Paulo Costa next, and then if he beats Paulo Costa, we can see him challenge for the belt next. Number 4, you have Jared Cannonier. I've already discussed. Just lost to Robert Whittaker, I think, back in October, November, somewhere around there. Then you have Derek Brunson, who's doing all right. I think he's on a 2-fight winning streak right now. He beat Edmund Shabazian and then Kevin Holland. But still, nowhere even close to a title shot. Then you have Darren Till, who hasn't fought since last summer against Robert Whittaker, who obviously Robert Whittaker beat him. Jack Hermanson just, fought. I can't remember. Who did he just fight? Jack Hermanson. I think his last fight was against Marvin Vettori in December, if I remember correctly. I might be mixing that up. But he clearly is nowhere close to a title shot. Kelvin Gastelum just lost to Robert Whittaker. So the middleweight picture is clear as day. It has to be Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker 2. And at first, after the Darren Till win, I definitely wasn't, clamoring for that rematch. After the Jared Cannonier fight, I was a little bit more interested, but still not 100% sold. But now after that Kelvin Gastelum win, he three quality wins in a row. I think it's time. And it's really nice and refreshing to see a guy lose his belt and earn his way back to a title shot. A lot of times you see guys get an immediate rematch where they win one fight and then they get the title fight. Whittaker's went out there and racked up 3 quality wins against 3 quality opponents and earned himself a rematch. So I can't wait. I think it'll probably happen somewhere in the fall or winter. I would like it to happen in the summer, but I doubt that's going to happen. As far as Israel Adesanya goes, he's coming off that loss to Jan Blachowicz, so that's super weird space for him. I think that was his first loss in the UFC. Yeah, it definitely was his first loss in the UFC. So it's going to be interesting to see how he rebounds after losing to the light heavyweight champion, Jan Blachowicz. And what's also interesting is I wonder if Robert Whittaker may try to take a page from Jan Blachowicz' book. Because in the first fight, Whittaker tried to take, I think he looked at that Kelvin Gastelum fight. Adesanya had just fought Kelvin Gastelum for the interim middleweight belt. Then after Adesanya beat Gastelum by decision, Adesanya and Whittaker fought, a couple months later in the late fall, early winter, somewhere around there. And it looked to me, and I haven't seen the fight in a while, but it looked to me like Robert Whittaker was taking a page out of Kelvin Gastelum's book, and he was just trying to rush in, throw big punches, and hopefully knock Adesanya out. That's kind of what Gastelum did, and Gastelum had a lot of success with it. But Whittaker did not have a lot of success. Adesanya, I don't know exactly why, but Adesanya was able just to dodge Whittaker very well and just counter him. Almost finishes him at the end of the first round, saved by the bell. He was flash KO'd without a doubt. If it would have gone 5 more seconds, the fight was over. Makes it to the second round, is lunging in again, was super aggressive in that fight, absolutely crazy aggressive, lunges in, Adesanya backs up, clips him with a big, I think it was a left hand, I can't remember, drops him, ground and pounds, and finishes him. So I'm interested. The reason I'm so interested in this rematch is because I want to see what kind of game plan Robert Whittaker comes in with. Because I don't think it'll be anything like the first fight. I don't think Whittaker's going to come out there crazy aggressive. I think he's going to try to be patient, pick his spots, and maybe even mix in some grappling. Whittaker is a very underrated grappler. Yoel Romero wasn't able to out-wrestle him. We've seen what Whittaker did to Gastelum. I don't think that really says too much. Gastelum's a great grappler, but he's so undersized for the middleweight, weight class. So it doesn't say a lot, but he took Gastelum down with absolute ease on Saturday night. So I'm interested in what kind of tweaks that Whittaker can make to his game plan. As of right now, I favor Adesanya in this rematch just because look at how the first fight went. Adesanya just beat him to the punch everywhere, made him miss a lot. So I still favor Adesanya, but for me, this rematch is super compelling, and I want to see Whittaker come in. I want to see him come in with a different game plan. He's rebuilt himself with 3 quality wins, and I hope this fight happens sooner rather than later. This will be a massive fight. The first fight, they sold out an arena, I think in New Zealand or Australia. I don't remember. I think it was Australia. So this fight will be a big fight. And it's such an interesting dynamic because you have Adesanya who knocked out Whittaker for the legitimate belt. He was already interim champion. Moved on, fought Yoel Romero in that absolute stinker of a fight. Then completely outclassed Paulo Costa in his last fight. Then moved up to light heavyweight and lost to Jan Blachowicz. So it'll be a very interesting dynamic because these guys have taken, 2 clearly different career trajectories since they met originally in 2019. And it's going to be super interesting. Whittaker coming off 3 wins, 3-fight win streak since losing to Adesanya, and Adesanya is going to be coming on a 1-fight losing streak. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see if it gets announced soon. Me particularly, I'm really looking forward to this rematch, which is not something I could have said to you maybe a month or 2 months ago. But just after this third win and such a masterful performance, I mean, Gastelum just couldn't even touch him. I'm super hyped for it, and I think anyone who suggests that any other fight for the middleweight title should be made, then I don't know what they're thinking because there's nobody else, not even close, that deserves a middleweight title shot against Israel Adesanya next. It just doesn't exist. If somebody says Marvin Vettori deserves it, they're smoking crack because he does not. He's second best. Maybe if Whittaker would have lost to Gastelum, I could have seen them going Marvin Vettori's way, but no way. Not based on merit and not based on performances because Vettori, even in his wins, they haven't been the most impressive performance. I mean, he had that Fight of the Year candidate against Jack Hermanson last year. But again, relatively, I wouldn't say close, but it wasn't, super dominant. Then, he obviously fought Kevin Holland, which most people thought he should have destroyed on short notice. And, we saw what it was, and it wasn't that great of a performance. He was getting his head snapped back by Kevin Holland. What do you think Adesanya is going to do to Marvin Vettori? I have no interest in seeing that. And that's a rematch, too. I didn't even mention that. They fought early on in Adesanya when he first entered the UFC. They fought. That was actually a split decision. So the UFC could sell the fight based on that original fight. But I just don't like Vettori's chances, and he hasn't earned it. Robert Whittaker's earned it. It's the fight to make. It's the fight the UFC better make. I think it's the fight the fans want, and I think it's the only thing that makes sense. So let me know in the comments, am I crazy? Is there somebody that deserves it that I'm not thinking of? If you guys enjoy these videos, make sure to like the video, and I'll see you in the next video.